That sound right there. That is not just an engine starting. That is a man telling the system, no. No to the software, no to the sensors, no to the dealership service bay that wants 4 figures just to read a code your grandfather would have fixed with a flathead screwdriver in 20 minutes. And right now, quietly, in garages all across this country, more Americans are making that same choice. They are pulling out the computers, ripping out the fuel injection, and dropping in a carburetor. And the government? They are watching every single one of them. Vehicle owner in America, sit up straight. The average lifespan of a vehicle in this country has now reached 12.8 years, according to the Auto Care Association. That sounds like good news. Until you hear the second number. The cost of keeping those vehicles running has jumped 12% in a single year. Now ask yourself, why would a vehicle that's supposed to last longer also cost more to maintain every single year? Because the car was never really designed to serve you. It was designed to keep you coming back. Think about what's living under the hood of a modern truck or SUV. You've got a throttle body, a mass airflow sensor, a manifold absolute pressure sensor, an oxygen sensor. Actually, multiple oxygen sensors, a crankshaft position sensor, a camshaft position sensor, a coolant temperature sensor, and all of it feeding data in real time to an engine control module, or ECM, that is running software your local mechanic cannot touch without a $3,000 dealer-level diagnostic tool. More than a mile of copper wiring runs through some of these vehicles. Dozens of modules talk to each other over a CAN bus network at speeds faster than your home internet. And here is the part they never told you in the showroom. Electronic modules don't wear out slowly. They die instantly. A cast iron engine block will give you warnings. You hear a knock. You smell something burning. You feel a shimmy. It's telling you something is wrong, and it gives you time to fix it. But an ECM, an oxygen sensor running at 0.1 to 0.9 volts with a slightly corroded connector. One bad reading and the entire vehicle goes into limp mode. Power cut, throttle locked. It will not shift. It will barely move. Not because the engine is broken, but because a computer decided it didn't like the data it was receiving. And when that ECM finally fails outright, many automakers have already stopped producing replacement modules for vehicles barely 10 years old. That engine, still healthy. That transmission, still strong. That frame, good for another 200,000 miles. But without that little plastic box filled with circuit boards, it's a 4,000-pound paperweight. That is not a malfunction. That is a business model. So what do you do when the system is built against you? You find the door they forgot to lock. And for a growing number of Americans, that door has a 4-barrel carburetor sitting on top of it. Here's what makes the carburetor so dangerous to the modern automotive ecosystem. It does not need software to run. It does not need a firmware update. It does not communicate with a server. It does not have a module that gets discontinued. A carburetor works on pure physics, specifically the Venturi effect. When the piston pulls down on the intake stroke, it creates vacuum inside the manifold. As air rushes through the narrow throat of the carburetor, it speeds up. That speed drop creates low pressure, and that low pressure pulls fuel up through the jets and into the combustion chamber. That's it. Vacuum and air pressure, forces that have existed since the beginning of the universe. And the engines these carburetors sit on top of. The Chevy 350 small block, the Ford 302, Windsor, cast iron, pushrod, overhead valve, designed before engineers were more concerned about sensor integration than durability. These engines are legendary, not for marketing reasons, but because of what they actually do. A properly maintained Chevy 350 will push past 300,000 miles without complaint. There are Ford 302s still running today that were built in 1969, not restored, running every single day. And here is the beautiful simplicity that makes the modern auto industry lose sleep. To run a carbureted V8, you need 3 wires. 1 to the starter, 1 to the alternator, 1 to the ignition coil. That is your entire electrical system. No oxygen sensors, no throttle position sensors, no ECM, no CAN bus, no possibility of limp mode, locking you on the side of the highway because a rodent chewed through a sensor wire coated in soy-based insulation. And when something goes wrong, A Holley or Edelbrock carburetor can be completely rebuilt with a gasket kit and a set of jets that cost maybe $30 to $40. You do it on your kitchen table over a Sunday afternoon. Meanwhile, a failed throttle body actuator on a modern truck, that's $800 just for the part, and the dealer wants another $400 to plug in their scanner and tell you what you already know. This is why real mechanics are hunting for pre-1986 engine blocks like they are gold, because they are. That was the last era before OBD systems and mandatory EFI integration. The last era when a vehicle truly, legally, and completely belonged to its owner. Now here is where this gets uncomfortable. Because the moment ordinary Americans started voting with their wrenches, started cutting computers out of their vehicles, dropping in old iron engines and telling the system they were done, that is the exact moment the government stepped in. And they stepped in hard. Under the Federal Clean Air Act, any removal or modification of a factory-installed emission system is considered tampering. That means if your truck came with EFI, a catalytic converter, an EGR system, and oxygen sensors, and you swap in a carbureted engine and remove those components, in the eyes of the federal government, you have broken the law. Now here is where the numbers get serious. According to updated EPA enforcement penalties for 2025 and 2026, each defeat device or tampered component can carry fines of up to $5,580 per part, per violation, per day. Not for the whole vehicle, per component. So let's do that math for a moment. Catalytic converter removed, EGR deleted, oxygen sensors gone, full carburetor conversion. Stack those penalties up, and a private vehicle owner working in his own garage can face federal civil fines that climb past $45,000 per vehicle. $45,000. That is not environmental regulation. That is financial warfare against the man with the wrench. And the government has already shown they are willing to go that far. In 2024, Cummins was handed a penalty of $1.675 billion, the largest civil penalty in the history of the Clean Air Act, connected to emissions software violations in roughly 630,000 diesel Ram pickup trucks. The message from Washington could not be clearer. No one escapes the electronic emission system. But the harshest battlefield in this war is not Washington, D.C., it is California. The California Air Resources Board, CARB, has built what might be the most restrictive engine swap regulation in the world. Their cornerstone rule is called same year or newer. Any replacement engine must come from the same model year as the vehicle chassis, or newer. That means installing a 1970 Chevy 350 into a 2020. Silverado is, under their rules, essentially an illegal act, and it does not stop at the engine. Every factory emission component must still be present and fully functional. Catalytic converter, EGR system, EVAP canister, purge valve, oxygen sensors, PCM, every single one. If so much as one vacuum line is missing, your vehicle fails inspection. And then comes the carb referee, a specially trained inspector who will open your hood, trace every wire, check every sensor, pull every code, and verify your conversion against the factory engineering diagram. If they find a carbureted engine in a chassis that originally came with EFI, they stamp it, fail. The vehicle can be permanently denied registration. You legally own it, you just can't legally drive it. Now they will tell you this is all about emissions, about clean air, about protecting the environment. And look, cleaner air matters. Nobody is arguing against that. But here is what they do not explain. A properly tuned carbureted engine running on pumped gasoline does not produce dramatically more harmful emissions than a modern vehicle with a clogged catalytic converter or a malfunctioning EGR system. The difference in real-world output is far smaller than the regulatory difference would have you believe. So why the massive fines? Why the referee inspections? Why the permanent registration denials? Because a carbureted vehicle is a nightmare for the modern control ecosystem. It does not transmit data. It does not receive over-the-air updates. It does not connect to a manufacturer's server. It cannot be remotely disabled through a software flag. It does not require a subscription to a proprietary diagnostic system. It does not make the dealership any money. An old iron block V8 with a carburetor is a machine that is completely and permanently yours. And that is the one thing the automotive industry and the regulatory system built around it absolutely cannot allow to become normal again. Because if it did, millions of Americans would realize something that the industry has spent decades trying to make them forget. You do not need them, but here is the part that matters most. Because Americans have never been the kind of people who just accept a locked door. They find the window. And right now, across this country, there are very real and very legal paths that mechanically independent people are quietly walking through. The first is vehicle reclassification. In many states, a vehicle registered as an antique or show vehicle is exempt from standard periodic emissions testing, typically vehicles manufactured before 1975, and in some states before 1986, qualify. Once you have that designation, the carburetor sitting on your V8 is no longer the primary target of any emissions inspector. The second is the farm and agricultural exemption. In rural counties and agricultural states, a vehicle registered as a farm-use vehicle is treated more like working equipment than a street machine. That classification often removes it entirely from the emissions inspection grid. The third, and this one is growing, is relocation. A significant and quiet migration is happening right now. Mechanical enthusiasts are leaving emissions-strict states and moving to places where emissions testing is either minimal or simply not required. And in those places, something is coming back to life. Square-body Chevrolet C/K trucks with Holley carburetors. 1970s, Ford F-Series pickups running like they just left the factory. Old Crown Victorias brought back from the dead with simple, rebuildable ignition systems. In those states, dropping a Chevy 350 into almost any chassis you want carries no fine, no referee inspection, no registration denial, just the sound of a V8 doing what it was built to do. And perhaps the most powerful protection of all, preservation. Mechanics who source, restore, and maintain original pre-emission engines are not modifying anything. They are preserving history. And that framing matters, legally, culturally, and in terms of how inspectors and regulators approach the vehicle. You are not breaking the system. You are keeping alive something that existed before the system required permission to run. Converting back to a carburetor has become something bigger than a mechanical decision. When you reach into that engine bay with a screwdriver to adjust the air-fuel mixture, instead of plugging in a $3,000 scanner and waiting for a computer to give you permission to fix your own machine, you are making a statement. You are saying this vehicle belongs to me, not to the software, not to the dealer, not to the manufacturer's server, not to a federal regulatory body that has never met you and does not know your name. To you. People doing these swaps are not anti-environment. They are not reckless. They are Americans who believe that the machine sitting in their driveway, the one they paid for, the one they maintain, the one they depend on, should answer to them and them alone. The sound of a carbureted V8 is not nostalgia. It is independence, running at about 14:1 air-fuel ratio, firing on all 8 cylinders, and they have not figured out how to pass a law against that yet. If this video gave you something to think about, drop it in the comments, share it with someone who still knows how to use a timing light, and subscribe, because there is a lot more they don't want you to know.